Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to remind you each and every day, it expands our base. There is so much news this morning, but let's begin with a major headline. A debate will take place. In fact, two debates will take place between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. One will take place in June. The other will take place in September. There will be no panel, no audience, just the two candidates standing on that television platform with radio coverage as well, debating the great questions that face America. Now, we don't know the details. We simply know that the Presidential Debate Commission is out of this. It's between Biden and Trump. There will be no third-party candidate on the stage. These two contenders, one the Democratic nominee, one the Republican nominee, will stand on a stage and debate the issues. This is high drama in American politics. And let me remind you that we have not seen such an encounter since May 17th, 1948, when Thomas E. Dewey and Harold E. Stassen debated in Portland, Oregon, on a single issue: resolved the Communist Party should be abolished in the United States. It was a critical turning point. Stassen essentially lost the debate. Dewey became the Republican nominee and, of course, went on to lose the election to Harry Truman in 1948. This debate is unique and special. Why? Because both candidates have agreed there will be no media interlocutor, that is to say, no moderator that we know of. No third-party candidate will appear on the stage with them. It'll just be Biden and Trump. You know, Biden issued the challenge, and he said, "I'm ready, let's go." And, of course, Donald Trump responded, "I'm ready too." So, all things being equal, there will be a debate between these two individuals. The first debate, by the way, takes place before the nominating conventions. The second debate takes place in September, and these will be critical. Let me remind you that debates have a real place in American politics, going back to the Lincoln-Douglas debate, which, by the way, was not a presidential debate. It was a debate between two candidates for the United States Senate from Illinois in 1858. And, of course, we've learned valuable lessons since 1960, when Richard Nixon and John F. Kennedy squared off in 4 television debates. We learned that mistakes matter. How you look matters. Making an error can change the course of an election. Well, let's go back and reflect on this for a moment. First, Richard Nixon, who wore a gray suit, a white shirt, and looked wasted when he opposed John F. Kennedy, who was tanned, rested, wearing a blue suit, a blue shirt. It was a contrast. And Nixon never recovered from the television image. Although he won on the radio, he lost on television. And who can ever forget Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter? It seemed to be a dead heat. But then Gerald Ford made a mistake. He said Russia did not control or occupy Eastern Europe. And that really was the death knell to the Ford campaign in 1976. And we've seen other examples of this. We saw Ronald Reagan in 1980 in his debate with Jimmy Carter asking a simple question: are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And of course, we saw Michael Dukakis, who, well, did not answer the question on the death penalty when it came to Kitty, his wife. These are real moments when mistakes matter. Will Trump and Biden be able to survive these two debates, and how will they impact the American election? I am constantly asked who I think will win. And I have to tell you bluntly, what happens on the stage in September and in June is going to be critical. So that's my read on presidential debates, and I look forward to them. 2 other things have happened that are of critical importance. One is that with Russia seemingly taking the offensive and the advantage in Ukraine, the Biden administration has offered a $2 billion package to help Ukraine. Will it be enough? Will it be too little too late? Will the question of American aid to Ukraine be an issue in the 2024 election? And let's be blunt. Let's be blunt about it. If Ukraine falls, the question will be who was responsible, and the Republicans will have a tough time defending their stance. And then the Biden administration announced a $1 billion aid package to Israel, reaffirming America's commitment to Israel in its time of trial. Israel has just celebrated its 76th birthday, and this aid package is critical to the Israelis, and again, affirming American support for Israel. And another development, a fascinating development. I went back the other day and reread a play that became a book by Stephen Vincent Benet. It's called The Devil and Daniel Webster. It's a fascinating play, and you can actually Google it and hear the audio of its presentation on radio. But here's the key. The key is that Republicans, candidates for president, leaders in the United States Senate and House, trooped down to New York in order to stand firmly with Donald Trump. They reiterated all the points that Donald Trump made. By the way, most of them candidates for vice president of the United States, that is for the nomination, with Donald Trump as the head of the ticket. This is the classic Devil and Daniel Webster, although it might better be called The Devil and Donald Trump. People willing to sell their souls in order to be on the ticket with Donald Trump. It was a shameful moment in American politics. And I must tell you, I believe the Republican Party will live to regret standing with Donald Trump in these remarkable times. So there was much to talk about this morning. Too much, perhaps, for us to deal with all at one time. But it is important to note that our political process continues to evolve, and the role of the United States in the world is clear. And what we do with our funds, with our aid, with our support, military and diplomatic, will make a profound difference in the world. And what two candidates for president say on a stage in June and again in September may form the basis for victory or defeat. Who knows what will happen? But I can tell you one thing. We will cover it thoroughly right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. I must tell you, I regret the fact that we are not interactive. That is to say that we can't talk about this as we used to do on the radio. But we do have the ability for you to communicate with me on Facebook and LinkedIn, and I urge you to take advantage of that. These are going to be fascinating times, and I'm happy to be with you right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of this podcast. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. That is the goal. And of course, again, let me repeat, Facebook and LinkedIn. Tell me what you think. And of course, a special thank you to the wonderful producer of this podcast, Gogo Zoger, who makes sure that Around the Political World with John Rothman is up and running each and every day. I am John Rothman. See you tomorrow, and I can't wait. Right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman.